paper, won't he? Because you witnessed one where the person was left out.
Our new Premier in South Australia did have one small omission in what was otherwise a magnificent speech recently. But I'm sure that Scott Morrison won't make that same mistake tonight. I mean, the other thing we may see is this is his last chance to try and write his legacy. What we do know is that from tomorrow, the finger pointing will start, the blame. So we might see him run through that record.
We just saw Scott Morrison's mum, his mother, making her way into the room just a moment ago, you might have seen. So we are just waiting for the imminent arrival into the ballroom at the Fullerton Hotel in Sydney for Scott Morrison to address the nation, to make that concession speech. And as we've spoken about, it's a very important one for him, isn't it?
And correct me if I'm wrong. Here we go. Here comes the Prime Minister now. Scott Morrison heading out with his wife Jenny and Abby and Lily, and he is heading up onto the stage, so let's listen to Scott Morrison.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. John and Jeanette Howard, it's wonderful to see you here tonight. Well, can I start tonight by firstly acknowledging the Gadigal people, their elders past and present and emerging. Can I also, as has been my custom ever since I became Prime Minister, to acknowledge any members of our Defence Forces who are here tonight and our veterans, and to say thank you for the country that you fought for and you've gifted to us, and for the freedom that we enjoy here today. It's a difficult night for Liberals and Nationals around the country, as nights like this always are. They are humbling, but so is victory. Victory is also humbling and always should be. Tonight, I've spoken to the Leader of the Opposition and the incoming Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, and I've congratulated him on his election victory this evening. In this country, at a time like this, when we look around the world, and particularly when we see those in the Ukraine fighting for their very freedom and liberty, I think on a light night like tonight, we can reflect on the greatness of our democracy. Thank you very much. Thank you. And so on a night like tonight, it is proper to acknowledge the functioning of our democracy. I've always believed in Australians and their judgment, and I've always been prepared to accept their verdicts. And tonight they have delivered their verdict, and I congratulate Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party, and I wish him and his government all the very best. Now, there are many votes still to count, that is true, and there are many pre-polls and postals that will still come in. But I believe it's very important that this country has certainty. I think it's very important this country can move forward, and particularly over the course of this week with the important meetings that are being held in Tokyo, I think it's vitally important that there's a very clear understanding about the government of this country. This has been a time of great upheaval over these past few years, and it has imposed a heavy price on our country and on all Australians. And I think all Australians have felt that deeply. And we've seen in our own politics a great deal of disruption as the way people have voted today, with major parties having one of the lowest primary votes that we've ever seen. That says a lot, I think, about the upheaval that is taking place in our nation. And I think it is important for our nation to heal and to move forward. But at the same time, 3 years ago, I stood before you and I said I believed in miracles. I still believe in miracles. I still believe in miracles, as I always have. And the biggest miracles, as I said 3 years ago, were standing beside me, and here they are again tonight with Jenny and Abby and Lily. They are the greatest miracle in my life. Thank you. Thank you. But there's another great miracle. Thank you. There's another great miracle which I want to give thanks for tonight, and that is the miracle of the Australian people. What Australians have endured over these past few years has shown a tremendous depth of character and resilience and strength. and each and every day I've had the great privilege to lead this nation over the last more than 3.5 years. And the one thing I have always counted on has been the strength and resilience and character of the Australian people. It has been the Australian people, under the strong support of a strong government, that has enabled all of us to come through to where we are today. And I think that's something that all Australians can give thanks for as we move forward. But of course, I also said 3 years ago, how great is Australia? And how great is Australians? And that remains as true today as it was 3 years ago. We hand over this country as a government in a stronger position than we left it, than we inherited it when we came to government those years ago under Tony Abbott. Unemployment today is at the lowest level in 48 years. Australians leaving school, leaving university, getting their trades, know that they have the confidence of being able to go out there and get a job and be able to realise their aspirations. And that's what I wish for them. That's what I wish for this country, that Australians will always be able to realise the aspirations that they have for themselves and for their family and their community. We leave government having secured our borders many years ago, and we leave government having restored our nation's defences, restoring our investment in our defence forces and building up again the strength of our defence forces, so Australia can always say we might look to others, but we never leave it to others as a country, because as a government we've invested in the security of our nation and we leave it strong. Whether it's our AUKUS partnership or the many other things that we've done to secure our nation's defences, I will always be in deep gratitude to the men and women of our defence forces, our security intelligence agencies, our border protection agencies, our law enforcement agencies, who have done such an amazing job to keep Australians safe and keep Australians together over these years. But the other thing, friends, that we've been able to do is continue to guarantee the essential services that Australians rely on. I've always believed that the purpose of a strong economy is not an end in itself, but to ensure a stronger nation that can provide the services that its people depend upon. Our investments in doubling support for mental health, for addressing the devastating issues of suicide, to deal with the challenges that people face with spinal muscular atrophy, or the challenges of cystic fibrosis, and the many other things we've been able to address through the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme and record funding for Medicare. These things are made possible by the diligence and the efforts and the strong work of Australians in making a strong economy. And I hope and pray that that will continue, because that is what our nation depends upon. Can I finish by making a few thank yous? I do want to start by thanking John and Jeanette Howard. John, you've been in many campaigns, and how strong was John and Jeanette? Thank you for your wisdom, thank you for your counsel to all of us and all of those in our government. Can I also thank Barnaby Joyce tonight and all the Nationals? Barnaby, you've run a strong campaign and the Nationals have performed extremely well tonight. The coalition has been strong under our government, together with Michael McCormick as well. And I want to thank all of those in the Nationals for the terrific effort they've put in all around the country. Outside of politics, we will never take regional Australians for granted, and we'll never take regional Australia for granted. We know that regional Australia is where the strength and heart of our country is, and we will always support regional Australians as a coalition. To my dear friend and deputy, Josh Frydenberg. You've heard from Josh a little earlier tonight. Josh, I can't just call a friend, I can refer to him as a brother. Josh and I have a deep and abiding friendship, and it has been our great privilege together, as the leader and deputy leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister and Treasurer, that we were able to work together to ensure Australia came through this pandemic with one of the lowest death rates in the world, the strongest economies in the world, and one of the highest vaccination rates in the world. I want to thank Josh for his tremendous economic leadership and support over the time that we have been in government, which has been one of the toughest times we've seen in government in at least 70 to 100 years, depending on which issue you're looking at. And Josh, I want to wish you and Amy and all of your family all the best for the future. I look forward to those counts improving, because Josh Frydenberg should be remaining in this Liberal Party and remaining in the federal parliament, because he is an outstanding individual and leader of our country. To Andrew Hurst, who I can see over there, Hursty, and all and to John Olsen and the party president, I want to thank you, and all of our volunteers who are here tonight and all around the country. Thank you so much for standing by us at this time, and I know you will continue to do that into the future. To my colleagues tonight who have had to deal with very difficult news and who have lost their seats tonight, I as leader take responsibility for the wins and the losses. That is the burden and that is the responsibility of leadership. And as a result, I will be handing over the leadership at the next party room meeting to ensure that the party can be taken forward under new leadership, which is the appropriate thing to do. I have had the great privilege to lead this great party and to lead this great nation. And the reason I've been able to do that is I've been supported by so many. And I want to thank all of those colleagues tonight for all of their great work in service of their country. And you can feel proud of the service you've rendered. To all of those who've been elected again tonight, you carry forward that Liberal mantle, you carry forward that coalition flag. And I can only see myself continuing to support you in those efforts, because the country will need you in the years ahead. Thank you. Can I thank John Kunkel and my own personal staff and team? Can I thank Julie down there in my electorate office there of Cook? My staff have been faithful and devoted and professional and untiring in the work that they've done to support me over these many years. And I want to thank them very much for their loyalty and their service and the fun times we've had together, the difficult times that you've helped me come through, the support you've given to Jenny and to my girls. We love you very much and we thank you very much. Of course, I've already acknowledged Jenny and Abby and Lily, the loves of my life. You only have to look at this stage to understand how important family is. Family is the fabric of our society. It is the fabric of our community, and only through stronger families can Australia truly be stronger in the future. My last thank you tonight is to the people of Cook. The people of Cook have supported me so strongly, and I will continue to be your representative, and I will continue to stand up for the values of our Shire. And St George, I thank you for your support today out there across southern Sydney, and I look forward to continuing to serve you to the best of my capability. But tonight, it's a night of disappointment for the Liberals and Nationals, but it's also a time for coalition members and supporters all across the country to hold their heads high. We have been a strong government. We have been a good government. Australia is stronger as a result of our efforts over these last 3 terms. And over the next 3 years, I have no doubt, under strong leadership of our coalition, 3 years from now, I'm looking forward to the return of a coalition government. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. The Prime Minister, or former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, making his concession speech there, saying that he has been humbled by the occasion, also adding that he was humbled by winning government 3 years ago. Chris Ullman, what did you make of that speech?
I thought it was good. I thought he went about the right length of time too. He kept it short. He shouldn't go on and on, but he hit all the right notes. He talked about the greatness of the Australian democracy, which I think is something that everyone needs to acknowledge. He talked about the fact that he'd spoken to Anthony Albanese and he wished him well, and that's another good thing, because I think that we should wish all of our governments well. They should succeed so that we can succeed. And he made his thank yous, of course, the longest one to Josh Frydenberg, who has been a very loyal deputy, even though he knew Scott Morrison was his biggest problem in this election campaign. He did not undermine him. He did not seek to make a challenge. And perhaps if the Liberals had taken a different leader to this campaign, there might have been a different outcome. And of course, he thanked the volunteers and ended with his electorate, which is a place it all begins for a local MP. So I think encapsulating all of those things, the Prime Minister made a very gracious exit from public life.
And he's going to hand over the leadership at the next party room meeting and continue to serve his electorate of Cook. which is interesting, isn't it, that he is going to stay in politics, it would seem.
They always say that. I think you can put a clock timer on that one and see how long it lasts. But, I think in a not too distant future, that by-election should probably go ahead as well.
OK. What did you
have
think, Jen? You know him so well.
I thought that was a marvellous speech. And you're right, he did hit all the right notes and thanked all the right people. I think that he's probably he needs a break. He needs a rest before he makes any major decisions, whether it's time to retire from politics or not. I've never seen anybody work as hard as he did and Josh Frydenberg did over the last 3 years. And I think he deserves a little bit of time to consider his future.
Julie Bishop?
I thought it was a very gracious speech. He is an articulate speaker. He did hit all the right notes, and he said so many times how important democracy is, and he also recognised that we have many big challenges that we face, and so that's why it's important for a losing leader to encourage support of the incoming government. Australia needs to hear that, and I think Scott Morrison rose to that challenge. He said he believes in miracles, but in a way he conceded that he's not the Messiah, and there was a level of humility in his speech, and I think that was most appropriate.
It looks like we are seeing John Howard here speak to the media pack. We might be able to bring that audio up, possibly. We saw Jeanette by his side there, and Fiona Willan, our reporter from Canberra, is there. Let's listen to it.
Gracious speech. I think Scott has served our country so well, and he does, as he said, he does hand government to the incoming Prime Minister and the incoming government with the country in great economic condition, far better than it was when the coalition. So I salute Scott Morrison. I salute Josh Frydenberg, who is very much on my mind and in my heart at the moment. I hope, that there may be a miracle that will keep him in Parliament, but whatever happens, both of those men can be very proud of the way in which they steered this country through an enormous economic challenge. And on behalf, I know, of millions of Liberal supporters around Australia, I say thank you to Scott and Jenny Morrison for their wonderful service. Thank you.
The former Prime Minister John Howard. I tell you, I saw him in the corridors of Channel 9 the other day. He still has a memory.